Hey guys, Josh the RV Nerd here, and I want to take a second to talk about brake controls. I've done a video like this in the past, but I went back and I looked at it and I wouldn't watch it either. It was boring and not fun. The other thing I've noticed is, like, I'll chat with a customer and they say, well, I got a half ton with a tow package. Well, it doesn't mean that you have the ability to use trailer brakes. And I said, now, do you have a brake controller? And they say, what do you mean? What does that do? And the smart aleck in me says, well, it controls the brakes, but you guys don't know that. That's why you come here to a dealership to learn that kind of stuff. So I wanted to take a minute to kind of cover this. Brake controllers, like anything else, you get what you pay for. You can start cheap, you can go better, and then it can keep getting better from there. But they all have a little bit different purpose. Why are there so many different brake controls? Why would you buy the one that's a little more money as compared to the cheaper one? That's what I want to look at here. So it starts with the fact that there's two basic kinds of brake controls. This is a normal timer-based brake controller, basically. What that does, we only have this here for that guy that just says, nope, 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 I want the absolute cheapest piece and part you can. We actually only keep two on the shelf because we just don't like them. Whereas these things here, this is the bread and butter of what we do. We'll get to that in a minute. But a timer-based brake control, what that does is basically in your vehicle, if you look at what you're actually setting in that brake controller is volts. That's what this little number is here. Like this one says 5.8. You're roughly sending anywhere from like 0 to 10 volts back to your vehicle's braking system. So let's say you have this set at like 7.5 or something like that. When you hit the brakes on your vehicle, the brake controller is going to try to send voltage up to about that point, and then it will kind of, it ramps up over time, and then it just sort of hovers there. The trick is, as your speed declines, you'll reach a point where your brake output exceeds the braking needs. Where these two lines intersect, that's when your tires lock up. So the tricky part with a old timer-based brake control is that when you're going really fast, you need more power. So you'll tend to crank it up to like 10 volts up here. When you're going slow, you need less power. But the problem is we want to be safe when we're going fast, and we don't usually roll the voltage back when we hit a lower speed. So that's why a lot of times you'll see like an empty farm trailer at a stoplight in a town, if you live in a town where you see farm trailers anyway. You'll every time the guy hits the brakes, you hear that trailer, the brakes lock up and the trailer bounces like up to the stoplight. That's why, because they have this thing cranked so high that it just it overkills the needs. Now, when we get to here, the reason that the Primus IQ is so darn popular at our store, it's probably the number one thing that we sell in terms of brake controls, is it's the first point you reach good, effective, proportional brake controlling versus timer brake controlling. This is also one of the first times you have nice digital outputs. You have a little boost switch. We'll get to that stuff in a minute. But basically the way a proportional brake control works is when you hit the brakes, it's going to kind of do the same thing. It'll ramp up the power. But when it hits the point where the brake needs meet the demand, basically, where it'll start to draw down the power, and it will try to follow the trailer proportionately. So what that means in English is once it reaches the point where the tires would start to lock up, sort of like anti-lock brakes in a car, it starts to work its way down and give you less output so that, you don't lock your tires up and cause the trailer to skid around. Now, this thing's great. This does everything the average person needs it to do. This is really your sweet spot. When you get to your Prodigy P2 here, the biggest thing you're gaining on this, like they both have a boost switch. And what that does is, if you're on flat land, you don't need as much power. But if you start going down a really steep grade, like say you're in the Appalachians or the Rockies or whatever, you're in some really rough terrain. Well, when you're going downhill on a steep grade, you need more power. So you bump that little switch and it instantly boosts up the output from the brake control. And then once you're back on flat land, you turn it back off. You don't have to constantly roll that little lever right there to get it where you want it. What you're gaining here when you go with the Prodigy P2 brake controller is you get brakes in reverse. This is the first brake controller that does that for you. The other ones don't do that. This is actually essentially the exact same brake control that Ford trucks have integrated in them at the factory level. You don't see the name Prodigy on it. You don't see Takancha Towing on it, but they are subcontracted out through that company unless that's changed very, very recently. They've been using this brake controller for a long time. In my career, I think I sold this brake controller, I mean literally one time. Once people understand what this does for you, this is the one everyone goes for. Now, if you've got a little A-frame pop-up or a 3,000-pound trailer and you happen to drive a 3/4 ton truck, you probably don't need that. But if you've got a 3/4 ton truck rigged for towing, you probably don't need any brake controller. It's probably built in with this anyway. Now, the only other different thing here, if I clear this out real quick, this is a really interesting kit, the Prodigy Rf System. These other brake controls, they have to get wired into your vehicle. That takes time. This is a wireless system, RF meaning radio frequency. It's very cool. Now, I could do a whole separate video on something like this, but suffice to say, who's this appropriate for? Because it is by far and away the more expensive kit. But it's very cool if you're like a person who, like, your lease is going to be coming up soon, or you're not sure what vehicle you're going to be towing with. Maybe you're a multi-truck household and you never know who's going to tow the trailer. This is very cool because you basically just strap this to the tongue of the trailer. This plugs right into the trailer itself. All you have in the vehicle is just this little handheld. So you can move this little handheld from one vehicle to the next. And that's it. We have good use for that in our trailer rental program. Some people come in with a half-ton truck with a tow package, but it doesn't actually have a brake controller in it. Well, that wireless one over there is really good. So hopefully seeing this in a diagram format helps you guys. I know that when I saw it like that, it was like an aha moment. Light bulbs went off. You know, I'm not the sharpest spoon in the drawer, but hey, you know, I didn't get to where I am in this world by being smart, but stuff like that definitely helped me. So if you found it beneficial, share this with somebody. Throw it on your social media channels, you know, like the videos and all that stuff that I put out here. And if at any point there's anything we can do to assist you, don't hesitate to give us a call. Our job's not done until you become and then stay satisfied. And remember that we can only do everything for you. Hitches, pieces, parts, financing, everything. Obviously, you know, we're willing to take the time to educate you guys and not just take your paycheck and then slap some magic box in your car that you don't know what it does. We want you to be comfortable. We want you to be safe. And we want you to have these things. By the way, when do you need a brake controller? The short answer is literally any time the trailer has brakes. You are legally required to be able to operate those brakes. Now, every trailer with a dry weight of 2,500 pounds or more has brakes, federally mandated. If a trailer weighs less than 2,500 pounds, it might still have brakes on it. For instance, the Rockwood A-frame pop-ups, those triangle-shaped jobs. Those are a very upscale product within their category, and they actually have brakes, even though they only weigh 2,000 pounds. But a lot of people are towing those with a minivan, and a minivan's not designed to have 2,000 pounds pushing you toward a stop sign or a stoplight. So that's why we have these things here. That's why we have the ability to do all of this stuff. If there's anything else we can do for you, do not hesitate to give us a call. Short of that, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.